What's up, agents, and welcome back to another Division video. I've just put Roosevelt Island on legendary. We're going to run in and I'm just going to kind of demo the first bit of this mission, a build that I have put together using new equipment from this season, which is a nice change. It's not really designed to be a legendary build, it's just more of a showcase of what this build can actually do. And it's, you know, not a build that's going to require a huge amount of work for anyone to put together. In fact, you could probably put it together, you know, in literally minutes. You might have most of the gear already. There is one piece of the gear which is pretty tough to get, but depending on if you want to run it exactly the same as me. But also I'm running the St. Elmo's engine, which you don't have to run that either. You could run a Lexington. Just depends how much CC you want in the actual build as well. Man, these drones are a pain. But I mean, as you can see, my St. Elmo's engine's got 106 bullets in, which is pretty crazy. Nonetheless, feels like basically it's feels like it's an LMG, to be perfectly honest. Super accurate. In fact, if anything, I'm overdoing it with the reload. I'm hitting reload when I've got 70 bullets left in. We obviously don't get the annoyance of enemies going being suppressed, which you do with an LMG. Oh, I should have shot the guy to the left then. And essentially, this is really taking it, you know, taking it the safe route, right? I've got my Lexington equipped on my other hand. You could switch that and do, you know, a significant amount more damage with that gun. See how much quicker that just rifled through. Killing the enemies. But even the Lexington, let's reload. 76 bullets in the Lexington as well. Come on, dog, come out. Damn it. I'm gonna go back here because them bombs are wild.
Immediate medical assistance needed.
Does anyone else hate these guys on legendary? Or is it just me? But there we go. So yeah, that is essentially the build. And like I said, you saw what it did here. This wasn't meant to be a legendary demonstration by any long shot. I would probably build in, you know, a significant amount more of survivability. But if you want to basically join any kind of content in the game and not just be oh yeah, let me use strikers, this is absolutely going to get you through. And you can actually roll even more damage into this if you don't want any of the survivability in it. For instance, if you didn't want to run the same backpack as me because you didn't want the amount of survivability, because all you're going to do is run heroic, you've got some options there as well, and we'll talk about that when we get to it. So we're running gunner with assault rifle damage. That's pretty much a must. But again, we also get 10% armor on kill. We get rate of fire on kill. Really no brainer for this build as well. So then with the St. Elmo's engine, the reason I chose to run this is because it gives us the talent that allows us to electrocute enemies, then building our survivability even more. It's super accurate, super easy to use. Depends on where you are with your, your build game, how much min-maxed you are or anything like that. If you kind of build into getting min-maxed, the St. Elmo's engine is definitely going to make your life a lot easier, definitely a lot easier. But if you've got a Lexington with killer, that would really work well as well. There are other options when it comes to talents. I wouldn't necessarily recommend running Streamline, because you're going to want to use your shield for this for some extra protection. But if you're not willing to use the shield and you're kind of happy because you're not going to be running legendary, you're going to think, oh, I'm just running heroic, I don't need a shield and things like that. You could run Streamline for some even, bigger damage. But then you've got other options here as well. Like if you wanted to build into survivability a little bit more, you could switch between the St. Elmo and the Lexington and perhaps run preservation if you wanted to get the repair of armor. So it's not bonus armor, it's actually armor repair, which is actually really, really nice. And then you could perhaps put strained on. You got a bigger mag, you're going to build up that 10% critical hit damage for every 0.5 seconds you are firing, stacked up to 5 times. Although you could just use optimist as well. We're going old school a little bit here. This all would work really, really great. Then as well, if you wanted to, you could use fast hands. The reload's not really a problem, so I wouldn't really recommend using that. That's not really something, but again, it would work, it would be fine. It would do the job. And apart from that, I wouldn't really recommend running anything else. You could run measured if you wanted to, but I know that's very much a play style that not anyone or everybody would like. I like to run killer. I think it kicks in majority of the time, even when I'm playing it in a group. There's no downside to it, and it gives you a lot of damage. Then we're going to use the quick step just because we like to run fast. Who doesn't? We're going to run the Overdog's gloves for crit chance, crit damage, and the weakest link talent. This is active potentially around 60 to 70% of the time, even without trying. So, and when this damage is up, then yeah, it's huge. It's absolutely huge. 30% amp damage is definitely worth running with. Then we've got the Foxy's Prayers, damage target out to cover, critical hit damage. Again, old school, no brainer, pretty much no stacking kind of build that will put out a lot of damage just instantly. And then we're going to run 3-piece of the brand new unit alloy set. We've got rate of fire, 20% assault rifle damage, and then 50% magazine size. Now, I usually stay away from things like this. I'm not really about the sustained kind of damage. I don't believe there's much in the game that requires a huge amount of sustained damage. Okay, there are some, points in the game that are, when we're looking at the incursion, when we're looking at the raids and things like that, harder content in the game. Legendary to a point, but usually I would just slap a striker's chest piece on, and that would then give me even more damage, and I don't even really then need the sustain. But for this kind of build, why not? We're talking about not just all-out damage, we're talking about survivability, we're talking about CC, we're giving a kind of a bit of an all-round twist to a build without having to just run strikers. So the 50% magazine size is essentially what makes my St. Elmo's engine feel like I'm using an LMG, and I'm not giving anything up really to get there, because I'm getting rate of fire and assault rifle damage from the other brand set bonuses. If I was to throw something else in here now, all right, I could throw a Fenris piece in for some extra weapon damage, but is it really going to make that much difference? Actually, no. It is going to give me better burst DPS. Yes, okay, I will kill things quicker, but again, that's not really what we're going for. We're going for a bit of an all-round type build, and like I said, these ARs become pretty insane with the amount of bullets that are in them. And this one is rolled crit chance, crit damage with the critical hit damage modding. Then we're going to use the brand new equalizer chest piece because it gives us perfect obliterate, which is not far off running glass cannon in terms of damage without any downside whatsoever. And that really is the only thing that we've got in this build that is a stacking kind of talent, and it stacks up incredibly quick anyway because we have a really good rate of fire on these guns, 935 on both of them. So yeah, definitely no slouch. Then we're going to run the salvo holster to go with it, because we also get an extra bit of rate of fire, which also then is, you know, increasing our burst DPS at the same time, which is yeah, is really, really cool. We talked about this before. We got the Foxy's Pros on, then we got the Overdogs on. We're just going to run the shield, but I mean, you could run the Banshee Pulse if you wanted to, and that might stretch out to you running Streamline on your gun as well. A Revive Hive is just a no-brainer with this. And then the only other piece I've got in here, which is a little bit more difficult to get, is a Palisade Steelworks brand set backpack. I feel like we've forgot about Palisade a little bit because of all the fanciness of unit alloys, but it's still really good, especially the fact that we get 10% armor on kill from the one piece brand set bonus. We also get 10% from Gunner. 20% armor on kill on an all red build is actually really, really good. It's only 5 enemies for you to be back at full armor, which is great. It's crit chance, crit damage in the mod slot with Bloodsucker, which is what I was running for my extra bit of survivability. But you could drop this out completely, go Unstoppable Force, go Vigilance, depending if you're using a shield or not. I would definitely recommend, if you're running a shield, use Vigilance, because you've got damage instantly. If you're using a Banshee Pulse, use Unstoppable Force. You will get to that 25% extra damage still relatively easily, even if running in a group or not, because you are doing lots of damage anyway. But you've got some options here, and you could just keep this core attribute blue if you wanted to, because it's only going to enhance the survivability, and 15% weapon damage in the grand scheme of things of everything we're talking about is not really a huge amount that you're going to be taking away from the build. Other options you've got here though, and the obvious one would be the Memento, but if you do that, you're going to have to look at perhaps running Contractor's Gloves instead of Overdogs, and that, again, it kind of takes away from the build a little bit and what we're trying to do. You could go even more into the bullets and crank it up to 115 with the Eagle's Grasp. I wouldn't do that. If you wanted to run the Memento, I would just swap in to Contractor's Gloves. I don't really feel like the advantage of the Eagle's Grasp. We don't really need the weapon handling in this build at all. These two guns are incredibly good at handling, incredibly fast at reloading. So when it comes to backpacks, I would quite simply look at slotting in a Fenris backpack. Then you could then choose whether you want to run Bloodsucker, Unstoppable Force, or Vigilance. All would be good choices here. And you'll just increase the damage of the build just that little bit more, and you still have the 10% armor on kill anyway from Gunner. Like I said, this wasn't necessarily meant to be a legendary demonstration or a master demonstration. It's just that I wanted to show that yes, it does enough damage for you to be in these positions in the game, solo or in a group, and be able to take care of yourself at the same time. We've ranted quite a lot, so let's get straight to the stats. We've got 55 crit chance, 156% critical hit damage, and 75% headshot damage. With the Lexington, 55 crit chance, 141 critical hit damage, and 75% headshot damage. It's pretty much an AR build because you don't really want to be stacking 3-piece unit alloys and wasting 20% assault rifle damage. It would just be pretty pointless. So you are limited to using ARs with this. But I know a lot of people like the Strager and things like that. That would work as well. Just be a little bit worried that it's a slower firing assault rifle. But you are extending the magazine in it with this build. So it actually might work pretty well. That is going to be it for the video though. Don't forget to like, share, comment and subscribe. Thanks for all the love and support, agents. And of course, I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.